having this hamstring injury and how he was managing it, maybe by J.J. Redick for a slight stint, but he's also winning games is about managing injuries and playing through injuries. As we get down the stretch, when you're fighting for a third spot in the playoffs, when you're fighting for 65 games and other things, like this is what we want from players. We want them to play through slight injuries. We want them to play through it and get ready for the playoffs. This is why you play at the end of the regular season for playoff implications.
For the record, if he doesn't play again this regular season, they have 5 games remaining. He has now played 64 games. And as Tim McMahon pointed out to everyone earlier in the program today, it would have been 65, but he was suspended on Monday night because he went over the technical foul threshold. So put all that into the hopper in the conversation. Having said all of that, Tim, the game itself, thorough domination by OKC of a Laker team that is coming off an absolutely spectacular month. So what did that mean?
Yeah, it meant all of the Lakers' momentum from March, poof, that was gone by the end of the first quarter. So is any shred of a hope of Luka winning the MVP. But this was the Oklahoma City Thunder reminding everybody why they're the defending champions, why they're the favorites to repeat this season. In the first quarter, this is a healthy Oklahoma City team playing at their peak. When they are at their best, the Thunder are the most dominant defensive team that we've seen in a while, and they are able to turn that defense into offense. The Lakers could barely get the ball over half court, 14 points off turnovers in the first quarter, and the rest of the game, I mean, it was over by the time people, finished their first beer in the lower bowl.
Yeah, well, for you, I know that's long before tip-off, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. Yes, Jay, go ahead.
Greeny, all I was going to say off what Tim just said is at the beginning of the year, when we looked at this Lakers team and after even the trade deadline, I think anybody that really paid attention to basketball, unless you're like a diehard Lakers fan and you're just going to believe they have a chance to win, I think we all talked about the holes that the Lakers had. Like how it worked with rim protection, how it worked with where they were defensively, how it worked with ball handling. These have been constant themes that we've talked about with the Lakers. So yes, they have been on an incredible run. Luka has been on an absolute bender offensively. But if you paid attention, we've all been questioning, like, is that sustainable? Is that sustainable to kind of lead them to the promised land? I think if you've been paying attention to basketball, even with Luka's injury, we think this is who the Lakers have been. And we're actually seeing who OKC is kicking in gear to become when you get ready to win an NBA championship. Not surprising at all, Frank.
That's a good point. I think it's a reality check maybe in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons. Fortenbaugh is here. I keep repeating he was 9-0 on his picks on this show last week. So coming out of last night's game, does something interest you from a betting perspective?
Still like the Spurs to win the West at plus 350.
To be clear, that's to win and get to the final, or that's to finish the one seed?
Western Conference and go to the NBA Finals. Yeah. Look, you do the blind resume against OKC. It's a lot closer than you would think. We're getting plus 350 here on a team that since February 1st is 27-2. They're number 1 in offensive rating. They're number 2 in defensive rating. They're number 1 in net rating. The big knock, which is factored into the price, is that they don't have playoff experience. All right, they'll have 2 series under their belt by the time they face OKC in the Western Conference Finals, at which time OKC will have 23 playoff games from last year under their belt and another 2 series this year under their belt. Those fresh legs from San Antonio might end up being an advantage when everyone thinks the lack of experience would be a disadvantage. So based on the pricing, I like San Antonio.
That's the point to be made here. It doesn't mean you're telling me in a vacuum you like San Antonio better than OKC. You're looking at the odds you can get on either one and saying San Antonio is a better buy.
Value-wise, we see where the Thunder are priced. That is accurate. I think the Spurs are off. They should be closer to plus 250, plus 225. That's where I see opportunity.
All right, a lot more hoops as we go on this morning. But right now, I'll remind you, we are 3 weeks, less than that, in fact, until the NFL draft. When we poison a pep talk ahead of the concert that he's playing at the NFL draft. Here's how it went. The draft has become like the Super Bowl. This is no smaller a gig. I want you to approach this as though this is like playing halftime at the Super Bowl. There's no difference. There's nothing smaller about it. The audience is enormous. There will be more people there in Pittsburgh live watching you than are actually in the stadium when the Super Bowl game is being played. Yes, so consider this the biggest. Go out there and consider this the biggest gig you've ever had in your entire life and just destroy it on that Thursday night. Well, who's ready to run through a brick wall for Greeny? Come on.
Let's go.
Nick, how was that? How would that be to send you guys out onto the field?
No, that was surprisingly good. I liked it, but you said poison. That made me think of Belle Biv DeVoe, not Brett Michaels, but maybe we got a two America situation going. I don't know.
It's Every Rose Has Its Thorn. You know the song Every Rose Has Its Thorn? I would sing it, only I sing terribly. Okay, I can see you and I are going to have to offline about this conversation one way or another. I promise you, that was his band. Okay, let's talk about what happened yesterday. Live, while we were on the air, Sheffy broke the story. The Raiders reached an agreement to bring in 37-year-old quarterback Kirk Cousins. Vegas was looking for a veteran who could start the season and mentor Fernando Mendoza, who the Raiders will take #1 overall later this month. There have been 7 quarterbacks taken with the first pick overall since 2018. Most recently, of course, you got Cam Ward, you got Caleb Williams, you got Bryce Young. The only one not to start his first game as a rookie was Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to start with you over here.
Week 3, I think.
He did. He came in. Remember, they hadn't won a game in 2 years, and he came in and beat the Jets on a Thursday night.
Yep.
Who's remembering? Anyway, the point that I'm making here is, what do you think of the Kirk Cousins addition? What does it mean for Fernando Mendoza and the Raiders?
It's outstanding on a number of levels. There is no rush to play Fernando Mendoza. We talked earlier in the show about the value of a rookie in the first round. They have 5 years. Last year, the Raiders gave up more sacks than any team, 64. Now, their offensive line is going to be better. Colton Miller's back. They obviously signed Tyler Linderbaum. With that said, there is no rush to get Mendoza out there until we know that situation is settled. And at this point in his career, Kirk Cousins, guys, is the ideal bridge quarterback. He could start November 1st, December 1st, whatever it may be. We want to make sure that Mendoza has a great career. It's not a matter of how many games they win in year 1.
Yeah, they had been in contact with Cousins for a while. They'd been telling everybody who listened that they don't want to play Mendoza right away, and ideally not at all this year. We hear that a lot, and it almost never works out. But so the $20 million for Kirk Cousins is real money. It makes total sense to start him until you're 100% sure Mendoza is ready. And the only other point I'll make on this is I want to congratulate the Las Vegas Raiders for assembling the least Las Vegas quarterback room you could possibly imagine, with Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza both going to Sin City.
Which is A, funny, but also
Thanks.
B, maybe an interesting point that, being in Vegas might not be for everyone, right? There might be some people whose personalities you say, well, maybe this isn't the right place for us to bring him. Some guys don't make it in New York, right? And Vegas, Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza strike me as people you might not have that concern about. I don't know either of them that well personally, but it feels like a decent fit. Neek, how about it here? It feels to me like you and I have talked a million times about the way teams ruin these quarterbacks, and the answer is always, I see the question on the screen, the answer is always Fernando Mendoza should start when he is ready. If that's week 1, if it's week 8, if it's year 2, it doesn't matter. It should be determined by his readiness, and now they can do it that way.
Yeah, I'd be stunned if he doesn't start somewhere close to the beginning of the season. Maybe not week 1. And I understand that they're giving Kirk Cousins real money to actually go out there and play football. But Kirk Cousins, like, injury aside, he's an older guy, so that could be part of the situation. But what happens is the players kind of decide for you. There are going to be a bunch of guys on that team who want the best quarterback available. And they go through training camp. If Mendoza is as good as they expect him to be, and he's not a young guy, like, he's 22, he started for 2 full seasons in college, he has experience, those players in the camp will understand it'll be impossible for them to keep Mendoza off of the field if he is as good as they suspect that he will be. So I think it's going to be a short runway for Kirk Cousins, but he's going to help mentor him, help him learn the scheme and learn how to read defenses. All those things will be helpful even if Mendoza is starting.
There's another interesting dynamic here, which is Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a 4th-string quarterback when he made the team in 2000. Nobody knows more about development of quarterbacks than Tom Brady. And I think it's interesting that this is a multi-year deal. I just wonder if he sees the long game as well in terms of Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying he's going to start every game this year, but I think Tom Brady's influence on this decision can't be understated.
You look skeptical, Dan.
Because people underrate how much this has to do with the team's record. Like, I know everybody will say, well, the Raiders aren't going anywhere this year. What do they care? But the only time we've seen this work, right, where you draft a guy in the first round and he gets to sit all year, 2017 Chiefs, who sat Mahomes all year, they started off 5-0 and stayed in first place all year. Are the Raiders going to do that? And then there was the Packers who take Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers has an MVP season, and they make the playoffs. So at some point, you're losing enough games that the building is miserable, and somebody said, we got to do something big here, and you put the rookie quarterback
That's a
in.
terrible thing, though. You got to fight that. You got to fight that. You got to
You,
hold off that
a lot of
inclination.
people fight it. Almost no one wins.
Okay, fair enough. And then you're the Jets, and you're taking another one with a third pick overall 4 years later, and you have the same exact problem. Don't let it be determined by anything but the readiness of the kid.
100%.
That's all they should worry about. Okay.